Today we're going to do a crater base. So what I mean by that is the craters that you end up with on the ground from impact from shells and weaponry. First off, we're going to start off with some green stuff and make it into a sausage, and then get an idea of what size we want for the crater, which means we're doing this on a fairly small base. That seems like about the right size. Next, with a sculpting tool, we want to apply a little bit of pressure. Obviously this at the moment, it's got this circular shape to it, which we obviously don't want that. We need to push this on the edges, push it into the, and it doesn't have to be a perfect circle because explosions don't really work like that. As long as it's roughly a circle, that should be fine. Now I would suggest we do the same again on the inside. We want to push it in, but on the inside we want to try and keep the shape at this type of angle, because obviously when the shell hits and it blows, it will blow outwards. And where before we were pushing down, this time we're going to push that way in. And this is actually very easy to do because it doesn't have to be precise. Some things when you're doing your miniatures have to be very precise, where other things, trying to be too precise is not, makes it less accurate rather than more. So this basically gives us the rough shape of a crater. You may wish to add a little bit more roughness to the texture of this, and if you've got other sculpting tools, that might be great. And if not, you could just use the back end of your modelling knife just to score it up a little bit like this, you see, and it'll add a little bit more texture later on when you're painting it. But again, you don't need to be precise. Getting it on the top and dragging it down a bit, as again, it adds a little bit more texture to the top of the crater rather than it being perfectly rounded. Next, for the purpose of keeping that rough look on the inside, we're going to apply some PVA glue, and I haven't let the green stuff cure yet, but it's not going to go anywhere, so there's no reason why we can't just do it straight away. And a small bit of sand. Again, this is just going to help for the process of when we're painting it a bit later. Now we need to leave it there to dry, and then we can start working on the painting part. First coat of paint was vinyl oxide. This is going to be our second coat. Just going over this crater part. This is the next colour we're using, Gawthorn, and the same applies as the last coat. You don't need to paint the whole thing, we're just trying to give some layers of colour. Next we're going to use some black static grass. So we don't want the grass to go right to the very top of the crater, because obviously from the explosion it's going to push the soil out. The reason why we've used this black static grass around the edge at first is to represent how the grass would have been scorched from the explosion. Next, we're going to cover the rest of our base with our PVA glue. You might want to let the first lot of the static grass dry first before doing this, but I'm rushing the job a bit. And because our miniature is quite a bright colour, I'm picking a darker grass rather than a lighter one. It still needs to dry yet, so that's why it looks a bit white. It's just because the glue hasn't finished drying. You can see now we've got our crater, and we've got the burnt singed grass around the outside, and then you've got your normal grass on the outside of that. If you like the video, remember to like, share, and click on the button on the lower right hand side to subscribe.